welcome everybody to a beautiful day on the Cape. I'm Mizrahi. I'm Executive Vice President of Affirmative Investments, and I welcome you today on behalf of Affirmative and Falmouth Housing Corporation. We're co-owners of this building, 704 Main Street, which is a low-income housing tax credit project, as well as several other LIHTC projects in Falmouth. And we're partnering on Scranton, Maine, which you'll hear about in a little bit, just across the street. Our ongoing partnership with Falmouth Housing Corporation has been incredibly meaningful to us, and we're so happy it's continued to this date. We were originally going to have this event across the street at our project, but after two tent companies backed out, it was a confluence of events of not enough affordable housing and having a workforce on the Cape, and then a lot of postponed COVID weddings. So we're happy to welcome you here. Housing's always been a huge focus of this administration, and they've been a machine pushing out awards of all types for housing growth, especially affordable housing. In April, they announced $63 million for the production of affordable housing at an event in Gloucester, and just last week in Worcester, they announced another $31 million for supportive service housing. Almost exactly a year ago today, Lieutenant Governor Polito, along with the governor, Jennifer Maddox, and Kate Racer, and many others joined us for a roundtable discussion just down the street of one of our projects. They came to focus on the particular concerns and challenges that we have of building affordable housing here on the Cape and the islands. They came to really listen and brainstorm with us. They were incredibly helpful that day, as well as in the days and weeks to follow to come up with looking for solutions. This administration is not daunted by problems. It's happy to get into the mix and try to figure out things. I can say the same about our partners at the town of Falmouth. They continue to be a huge support as FHC and Affirmative look to create meaningful, affordable housing communities here. They partner with us to work through any challenges that pop up and provide significant financial contributions. Peter Johnson-Staub, the acting town manager, has been very helpful in making sure things keep moving. He's been very supportive of our current project and encouraged his team to make sure we could keep on track to provide a compelling application for funding to the state this January. We thank you for that. And with that, I'm happy to introduce Acting Town Manager Peter Johnson-Staub.
Good morning, everyone. I couldn't be more pleased to welcome Lieutenant Governor Polito and Undersecretary Jennifer Maddox to Falmouth on this beautiful day. I want to recognize that the importance of this issue is manifest in some of the folks that are here today. We have Select Board members Doug Brown, Scott Zielinski, Nancy Taylor, Angela Scott-Price, and Sam Patterson. Thank you for joining us today. We have a number of staff who are really important for getting this work done locally who are here today. I'm not going to introduce all of them, but I do want to recognize DPW Director and your DJ for today, Peter McConerty. State Senator Dylan Fernandes is here. Thank you for being here. Tara mentioned that it was just a year ago that we were here having a roundtable to talk about what can we do to move forward on housing issues on the Cape. And I have to say the Commonwealth and the town of Falmouth have been pretty busy since then, stepping up with funding and also really important zoning reforms on the state level and locally. The town has appropriated over $5 million since our last meeting for affordable housing. And on the zoning front, we approved, town meeting adopted a commercial overlay district that allows for 20% affordable by right housing in our downtown area for the first time. Yes. So that was not a simple task, as you might imagine. It is always difficult to change zoning, and rightfully so, town meeting members are skeptical about regulatory changes that may change the shape of their community. And it took a lot of work from a lot of players on the planning board, the planning staff, and there was one individual who helped to craft that legislation who was a former select board member Also happens to be chair of the Water Quality Management Committee, which dovetails in very important ways with affordable housing. And that person also happens to be the chair of the Falmouth Housing Corporation, Eric Turkington. So with that, it's my pleasure to introduce Eric.
Well, I'm supposed to be doing the introductions, not getting them, but anyway, here we are. I'm actually filling in for Linda Clark, who is the head of this corporation, and she's, in the interest of not spreading her sore throat around to the rest of you, she chose not to be here today, but Linda has been the head of the Falmouth Housing Corporation for half a dozen years now, and we refer to her as our miracle worker, because in those half a dozen years, she has taken 5 projects from inception to occupancy. 5 projects in about 6 years. Unbelievable. If she were here now, she'd be bragging about this latest one, and since she isn't, I will. This latest one is in a town where 30% of the population is over 65. We've got a lot of old people here, and this next project is for seniors. It's in a qualified census tract. It's right across the street from our brand new senior center, where you can get a beautiful lunch for $6. The DPW has already agreed they're going to make sure that the wait across the street will be safe for the seniors. It's a passive house certified project. It's going to house 48 seniors in 1-bedroom apartments. And it's going to start construction, presuming you're going to give us the money today, in January. So my job here today, aside from bragging about our project, is to introduce someone who, of course, needs no introduction. Karyn Polito is a former colleague of mine from back in the day. We were in the House together. She's been a friend in a lot of ways, not only to me, but to Falmouth, and there's 151 cities and towns in Massachusetts. Karyn Polito has been to every one of them, most of them more than once, and Falmouth a lot more than once. I want to take this chance, she's in her last 6 months, so this may be my last chance, but I want to take the chance to thank her personally and on behalf of the town of Falmouth for your 8 years of service in Massachusetts. You are the hardest working lieutenant governor this state has ever seen. And we appreciate it.
Thank you. That's so sweet of you. Here I am. Trying again. Oh, goodness. It is great to be here with a packed house. I love this room. Thank you all for coming to Cape Cod. I'm sure it was a really big, heavy lift to make your way over the bridge or be here in this beautiful community and celebrate your accomplishments. But I'm so thrilled because last time we were in this room, we had restrictions and it wasn't as full a packed room as this, but we had a really important meeting here, and I think it was a hot, hot day, and from here we went around the corner to a gravel pit to see the place where you were building a beautiful housing project. And then, of course, with the governor, not too long ago, about a year ago, having a more in-depth, important conversation around the particular needs of this community and in this region, being a coastal community with a lot of environmental and other pressures, and a tourism community, and a community that is clearly year-round, but has challenges with workforce and affordability and accessibility, as well as a population of year-round residents that are aging and need a lot of different supports and different ways of accessing their homes. So I come here feeling very grateful to have such experts, to have such incredible talent and professional people that are part of this team in Massachusetts to problem solve and figure out the right solutions that are appropriate for the community and the region of our Commonwealth, because it isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. So every single project that benefits from the credits and the investments today are unique and solve a unique problem and challenge in your community. I want to thank you for rising up to this occasion, accepting the challenge, putting forward great projects that will make a difference in people's lives and have helped us as a Commonwealth succeed in meeting our challenges. We have a whole lot more work to do, but making Massachusetts that place where people can age successfully, can afford to live here, can raise their family, can be a young professional and start their job or career and still be attached to this Commonwealth where they grew up and have had such a meaningful experience. And in all those contexts, housing is the key piece that is enabling other parts of people's lives to happen. Their job, their career, their quality of life. So without housing, we can't solve and do a lot of those other things. So let me just start by saying thank you to Eric, to the host community here in Falmouth. I want to thank the acting town manager for stepping up and helping this community continue the momentum that you've started to work on. I want to thank Representative Fernandes and Senator Moran, who's up at the State House doing official business today. And I want to thank our team in state government, the household names in your organizations. Certainly these two names come together mean a lot to the housing community. And those two names are Kate Racer. She's a force and amazing person. Thank you. Right? Thank you, Kate. She takes all those gnarly, tough projects and figures it out. She figures it out. She's fair, she's honest, she'll give you the feedback, she'll ask you to do more, and has done an amazing job for us here in the Commonwealth. I want to thank Undersecretary Maddox, also a force and a very strong leader. Especially in COVID, the setting up of the eviction diversion program was led by Undersecretary Maddox. She did an incredible job helping to keep people in their housing and staying connected to the supports that they needed. She did an amazing job. Tara, thank you for also being such an incredible partner in helping us solve problems and for hosting roundtables and discussions and helping the governor and me and our team do an even better job. I know, I know we have communities represented here back from my hometown, city of Worcester, New Bedford, Framingham is in the house. You've taken the drive to be here because you know how important this is. I want to thank you. And yes, I think someone, and I think it was you, Tara, that acknowledged that our administration has prioritized housing, obviously knowing that it's a crisis here in Massachusetts not to have enough housing of choices. But the process around permitting, siting, permitting, and then attracting the resources, public-private partnerships, and then executing on the building plan to construction is challenging enough, but then you throw in post-COVID times of supply chain, higher costs, workforce issues, and it becomes even that much more complex. So it just underscores the need to have the resources to work together to keep going. I want to acknowledge and use Falmouth as an example of how you're looking at your community and figuring out places where you can add more housing. That overlay district in your downtown, took a lot of thought and a lot of community meetings and conversations to arrive at a consensus around what to do in your very special downtown to maintain the character that is such a part of who you are, but also then to incorporate new units of housing so that now people can live in your downtown year-round, and then be able to support more restaurants and shops and services, which creates more economic vitality. A lot of what the governor and I have talked about with all of you is to think about your zoning, streamline the process. The whole housing choice zoning reform enabled communities to rethink how housing can impact your community, not only for seniors, not only affordable housing, not only for your workforce, but for places like your downtown, incorporating more units of housing to make it more of a vibrant and interesting place in your communities. And I think before I get to the announcement, everything changed with COVID. You know, you were working on a lot of these projects before COVID, but after COVID, you know, people can work from wherever. Flexible work is forever. And now that people have that flexibility and have this more significant contribution to the place where they live, their downtowns and their main streets and the places nearby are really important. And so that has been reimagined even more so post-COVID. You know, outdoor dining, more places close by that you're so familiar with, but you feel so connected to, are an important part of our character and community development for many, many decades to come. All right, so I think the theme is we've got a few months left in our administration. We're going to keep pushing the dollars out the door. The legislature is almost done with the legislative session, and we're praying that there's more of those housing dollars for everything in the bond bill so that we can program that as quickly as possible to get it into your hands so that you can work the magic and do what you need to do. So I am thrilled that today's awards will advance 26 projects that will help us create and preserve nearly 1,500 units, the vast majority of which will be deed-restricted, affordable housing units, ensuring that these units remain community assets for decades. And I'm thrilled to say that we will be committing $50 million in direct funding and allocating nearly $90 million in state and federal tax credits and tax credits will create around $300 million in equity for developers. There is a huge smile on Kate Racer's face because she's just saying, phew, I just got through all those rounds of reviews and now we got a whole stack waiting for us when we go back to the office. So thank you very much. This is critically important for the Cape to solve some of your unique challenges, and critically important for every community that's involved here. Just a couple of notes and then we turn it right over to Undersecretary Maddox. Here in Falmouth, new senior housing with affirmative investments, Tara, thank you, will create 48 new units to meet the growing demand for senior housing. It's really terrific. In Orleans, Penrose, and Charlie Adams is here, thank you. We'll undertake a major project to transform vacant commercial space into 62 new units, creating more housing on the Lower Cape that will help year-round businesses and allow more people to stay connected to the community. Those are just a couple of examples of how you're leveraging the state and federal dollars. You're putting your team to work to make these units work for the community in which they sit. This all adds up to a lot more capacity in our Commonwealth. We know what works, and with more resources, we could do more of what works to work for the people of our Commonwealth. Congratulations to all of you. It's a pleasure to see all of you, and it's now my pleasure to introduce Undersecretary Maddox.
Good morning. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor, and thank you to Affirmative Investments for hosting us here today and your partnership in developing beautiful, high-quality housing in many Massachusetts communities. This summer, we had the honor of celebrating many major housing milestones with developers and communities across the Commonwealth. Last week, we celebrated more than 200 new permanent supportive housing units
in Worcester and 200 new shelter beds through our permanent supportive housing round. Today's awardees feature a number of our trusted, experienced developers taking on new projects, and we are thrilled to be fueling this growth. I spent much of my career at DHCD in the finance division crunching numbers, and I can say with honesty that we have never before been this well funded or as empowered to invest so much in housing production. Along with our partners at Mass Housing and Mass Housing Partnership and CDAC, we are increasing our capacity to offer technical assistance, offering more opportunities for projects of different sizes, and we are working closely with our partners in the housing ecosystem to encourage production. I have the honor of announcing today's awardees who will be receiving part of the $50 million in direct funding and nearly $90 million in tax credits. And the awardees are, of course, Affirmative Investments, Scranton, Maine, here in Falmouth, Preservation of Affordable Housing, Gardner, Terrace 2, and Harpenville Mill, Attleboro.
Can we just pause and each one stand so we can see you? So we're going to go back to Tara.
Well, Tara and Falmouth Housing Corporation.
So stand right up.
Thank you. Preservation of Affordable Housing, Gardner Terrace 2, and Harpenville Mill, Attleboro. Harbor Light Community Partners, Anchor Point 2, Beverly. Alston Brighton, CDC, Carroll Avenue, Alston. Beacon Communities, 288, Harrison Residence, Chinatown. Cruz Development Corporation, Harvard Street Housing, Dorchester. The Community Builders, 127 Amory, Jamaica Plain. Caribbean Integration, Community Development in the Planning Office, 150 River Street, Mattapan. Nuestra Comunidad and Windale Developers, Bartlett Station 5, Roxbury. Neighborhood of Affordable Housing, Aileron, East Boston. Trinity Financial and Madison Park Development Corporation, 2085 Washington Street, Roxbury. Rees Larkin Development, E+ Highland, Roxbury. NeighborWorks Housing Solutions, Lincoln School, Brockton. All right. Brookline Housing Authority, 32 Marion, Brookline. Hebrew Senior Life, 108 Center Street, Brookline. Just to start, 52 New Street, Cambridge. Valley Opportunity Council, Belcher Apartments, Chicopee. Framingham Housing Development Corporation, Carlson Crossing East, Framingham. Waterfront Historic Area League, Hillman Firehouse Restoration, New Bedford. Hall Keene Management, Wamsata Apartments, New Bedford. Penrose, Orleans Cape Cod 5, Orleans. Stowe Elderly Housing Corporation, 22 Johnston Way, Stowe. SGC Development Partners, Coyle School Residents, Taunton. Affordable Housing and Services Collaborative, Prospect Estates, Webster. Commonwealth Community Developers, Westminster Senior Residents, Westminster. And finally, Abby's House Shelter Renovation, Worcester. Congratulations. Now, I know when we look at how many housing units we need, it can feel very daunting. But events like this give us the opportunity to remind ourselves that we have a tremendously talented system here of developers, advocates, nonprofits, and communities committed to making housing abundant and affordable to all of our households. Thank you. Now, I am happy to introduce Representative Fernandes, who is going to share a few words with us.
Well, it's great to be here. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. We've had a tremendous partner in the executive branch, and none of this gets done without the great work of the Baker-Polito administration. So thank you so much for making it down to Falmouth. We're in a statewide housing crisis, and I think this room exemplifies that you guys schlepped over the bridge in July and have to go back through Cape traffic. But nowhere is it more profound than here on the Cape and Islands. And so on Nantucket, we have a median home price of $2.5 million. On Martha's Vineyard, it's over $1 million. Here on Cape Cod, it's hovering around $700,000. And so you can't afford that if you're a regular person. And this housing crisis is driving working families, young people, seniors who help build the community out of our district and out of our little spit of sand we have down here. And it's really a tragedy. It's one of the biggest, if not the biggest issue facing our region. And Harvard came out with a study saying to live on Cape Cod, you need to make $190,000 a year to have the median home here on the Cape. So this is a really profound crisis, and if we don't do more to address it, it's going to erode our communities far faster than the ocean will down here. So I am deeply grateful to the Lieutenant Governor and the entire Baker team for their work on this. I'm incredibly grateful to the town of Falmouth, who's doing really exemplary work and is a model for the Cape on what to do around expanding housing options here. But we have a lot more work to do, and we need to double down on this now and in the years ahead. And just as a personal aside, I'm glad this is going to be some senior housing. And Eric and I have talked about this, but I actually had an elderly aunt who's a veteran who became homeless last year and had to move out of town just to be able to find housing, because here on Cape Cod, less than 1% of the rental stock is even available. So we're really at a crisis and a tipping point. And so the dollars here today really do, they're dollars, but they really do impact and change people's lives. And there are people, behind those dollars, they're gonna have a roof over their head and have security. So this is an incredibly important event. So I just want to thank everyone for coming out, and thank you for your work to build housing in your community. And and I don't know who's next, but okay, Tara.
Okay, so before I wrap up, I have two small things. So another group that's in here that is that's worth mentioning, because when Lieutenant Governor mentioned the two Cape projects, both of those projects are former Cape Cod 5 banks, which is pretty cool. So I just wanted to shout out, because I know there's some Cape Cod 5 people in the audience. The other thing is, I don't know if I've ever been at an event where we got called out and had to stand up. So one, that was pretty cool. But two, all those people that didn't show up are going to be still. I know. gonna show up, even if it's on the Cape in the summer. Okay, so thank you for coming across the bridge. I hope people get to chance to dip their toes in the sand or the water before they go. And for all those developers, it was quite an impressive list. I wish you predictable construction costs, speedy supply chain, high equity pricing, and very low interest rates. So before people leave, we do want to encourage all the awardees to come. Samantha here is going to organize some photos outside, and then please grab some food. We are hoping maybe that this is a local caterer, that they might open a satellite location on the first floor of the Scranton, Maine project, so which would be awesome. So thank you all. Congratulations. Thank you.